that one belief eliminated from your brain could change the course of your reality. Would you want that? It's not for everyone, only the brave. Those who want to own their life like the powerful leaders they were born to be. A pivotal moment can change everything. Now, here's the host of Crossroads to Awakening show, Wendy Paquette.
Hello and welcome everybody. Welcome to the Crossroads to Awakening. I am your host, Wendy Paquette. I'm a holographic mind reprogrammer. Should reprogram that word. And I support women and men who are stuck at a crossroads awaken to their true selves and change their world from where they stand. Because as a high frequency human, I truly believe that the way you see your life is exactly a result of all the programs that are written into your mind, into your brain. And those can be changed. So you want to change some programs. If you're seeing stuff in your life you don't like, make sure you contact me. You can email me at wendy@wendypaquette.com or follow me on the Inspired Choices Network and reach out to me there. So welcome. Today's show is going to be really interesting because I have always spoke about weird things. And I stop myself sometimes from talking about the things that I would like to talk about because I think that people won't understand, or people say, oh, no one really gets that. But what I know to be true is that some people do. And so I'm speaking to you. And the title of today's episode is Tired of the 3D Experience and Ready for Manifesting with 5D Multidimensional Insight? ? And so what that means is we've been living in a 3-dimensional or third-dimensional reality, which means the law of duality, the law of right and wrong, good and bad, up and down, inside, outside, all those things have been true because we've decided they are. But what was occurring all along was our evolutionary experience in energy, where we keep actually moving towards a multidimensional experience, which is actually 5D, right? So I spoke on a prior show about 4D. 4D is the bridge, right? 4D is the bridge from 3D to 5D. 5D is a multidimensional experience where there are other aspects of the reality that will come into your experience where they seem otherworldly. So imagine if you could see entities, or you could hear entities, or you can connect with otherworldly beings, or maybe you see ghosts, or maybe you see dead people, right? Like the movie. That is a multidimensional experience. You're seeing into another dimension. But we're coming into the space now where there is so much more of that experience going on, because as human on this planet, we are moving up the frequency line, right? They keep saying the hertz of the planet is moving up, and it is, and so are we. And so by default, or by critical mass, we're all moving into a space where we're going to experience things that are a lot different than what we're used to. Even with collection, like you look around, if you were maybe 20 years back, could you imagine yourself ever being connected to someone on the other side of the globe? Like, when would you be connected with someone on the other side of the globe? You just wouldn't. It wasn't in our realm to do so. But as email and as social aspects like social media, maybe Skype, Zoom, all those things were connecting us, we were able to connect to the other sides of the globe with ease, which means that we are no longer separate to anyone at all. I mean, we're reaching into third world countries where we've got, friends, people on the ground that are supporting them into coming into their reality in a new perspective, which they never had an opportunity to have before either, right? New wells are being built where they can have fresh, clean water as opposed to dirty water for their children. All these things are actually happening now, but that is a part of our multidimensional experience, moving into a world where a lot of us are having these weird experiences, myself included. I mean, I have experiences with otherworldly beings and deities and goddesses and gods that I never would have had a decade or so ago, based on my way of thinking, because the programs that I had kept me there. So a lot of times you'll notice yourself believing something because someone else has done it. So if someone else has done it, that means that it's possible that you could do it too, because it's got a proof to it. So if it has a proof to it, then you have a choice. You can either lean into making that proof real for you, or you can lean away from it by deciding that that proof isn't going to be true for you, and in which case you are creating a program. So what I love speaking about is manifesting, because I don't know about you, but for me, manifesting is really, really simple. Like at a speed of a thought for me, at some points, I can create the opportunity to have something, talk to someone, generate something, bring something in, create something. It's really super simple. And I realized that maybe about a year ago, I started paying attention to all the things I was thinking about and how that was showing up. Now, when I first started thinking about it or looking at what I was creating, I also noticed that things that I thought about that I didn't like were also showing up. So it's a two-way street, right? It's not like, oh, my life sucks, so I'm going to think about or manifest something that I really, really want and then have it come. That all stems from the law of duality, where there's a reason why you want that, because maybe you don't have something, right? Or something's not working, therefore you're going to flip a switch and go, well, that's not working, so I want it to work, so I want that, right? There's always this law of duality, this or that, instead of living from a space of conscious awareness. What would be fun right now to create? Not from a space of I don't have it, therefore I want it, but from a space of sheer desire. Like, ooh, you know what? I never, ever thought that I could fly to the other side of the world. I wonder if I could, right? Now, it could be physical, actually buying a plane ticket, or someone sourcing a plane ticket for you, or you having someone show you the way. Like, oh, you know what? We're going to fly to Africa because we're going to build wells there. Now you have the opportunity to fly to the other side of the world because you can choose it. Or potentially you could lucid dream yourself there. So you could on purpose practice lucid dreaming, which is another topic altogether, and awaken into that experience where you can create from the dream state and then bring it back now, like bring the information back to you in this reality. There's so many ways to live it, but those are on purpose, right? You're actually walking into that experience on purpose and creating from that space, not from a space of lack or scarcity, but from a space of possibility. So what would it take for you to actually look at your life from a space of, okay, I'm going to pretend that I have a whole new life to create from today, right? I'm going to, just for now, ignore the life that I've had up until this moment and ask myself the really poignant question, what do I want? What do I want right now? And you can make it something simple and small, like I want to have access to vegan meals every day. Like I say, that's simple and small, but it's not hard to create that. Just go to the grocery store, hop into your fridge and make that for you, or find out where there's a vegan restaurant and have them deliver regularly, or have one of those, food, like the good food places or whatever that deliver food and have vegan meals delivered. It could be at this instantaneous moment that you decide that's what you want. You can step into it by creating it. Part of it is inspired action, and the other part is desire. So you really got to want it, right? So why would you want something like that? So there's multiple steps to accessing manifestation on purpose. It's not just thinking your way there, because a lot of the teachers have taught us that if you try to think yourself into something, you're not going to, right? Not because it's not possible, but because the emotions that are attached to that one thing is actually more powerful than the thing itself. So it could be maybe a relationship. If you've never had a really great relationship in your life and you're desiring one, whether it's a mate or a lifetime mate, and you've never had a really great relationship, what do you think the back end energy is going to be on asking for a relationship, right? If you're trying to manifest one, it's going to be built on the foundation of not having a great one. And so you're going to sit on the foundation of not having a great relationship to build a great relationship. Not going to work, right? You're going to find yourself in the space of wobble all the time because you're trying to create from a space of lack, right? Of scarcity, like you've not had it before. And so your underlying mindset will be, I've not had it, so therefore it's probably true that I won't have it again. Like you've got that program running. How hard must you try and think and focus on something in order to have that based on your prior results? hard, right? Really hard. And it's not easy. And why would you waste your time? The space you get to come from is more of a multidimensional space of, you know what? I don't even know what a relationship looks like. Not I've had a bad one. That would be, you know, the good, bad scenario. But I don't really know what it looks like. And I don't know what I don't know. So I get to create a relationship based on all the things that I desire, right? And beginning from that light space of, I don't know what it looks like, and I'm willing to create it from this space based on my heart, right? What do I really want? And go from there. Now, calling in multidimensional experiences for manifestation has a lot more to it than just thinking about it, right? It has a feeling attached to it. Perhaps it has a visual attached to it. It has experiences that you've had before attached to it on the side that you don't want it to be. So you got to unhook all those little things in order to have a space of freedom to create. So from here, what we're going to do is we're going to have one thing that we want to create, and we're going to space it into a 5D multidimensional experience without having the duality of 3D in our minds in this moment. And so moving forward, we are going to walk into manifesting from a space of no prior experience, right? There gets to be a new word for manifesting, right? Actualization, perhaps. We're going to actualize from mere seeming thin air in order to create something from a multidimensional experience, which means that there are only neutral and above frequencies as far as emotions go. And nothing else can be in that space. Nothing else can be in your mind in that space, because it will neutralize your manifestation. So 3D is the law of dualities, right? Good, bad, right, wrong, up, down, in, out, have not, all those things, scarcity and abundance, the opposites of everything. From a 5D experience, from a multidimensional experience, it's neutral or above. So we're going to choose something that's in the neutral space or above. And we might start with something that you have had no prior experience with. So I'll take out the relationship aspect, and we'll start with, like, you're going to find a dollar coin. You're just going to magically find a dollar coin, right? And we're going to manifest from the space of that dollar coin actually could represent $1 million. Like, what if it did? Finding that could open up the space in your reality that you could access your greater vision in this now to things that you've never even seen possible before, based on $1. Talk about a fun manifestation, right? Wouldn't you be shocked if, 6 months from now you were generating $1 million because we did a manifestation exercise with $1, one minuscule little coin? To me, that would be so fun, super fun. So we're moving into a break. And while we're on a break, I want you to think of something that you could use. I mean, if you don't like the $1 coin opportunity, you can think of something else. But if not, prepare yourself to be open to knowing that all things are possible in 5D based on your desire. Based on your desire, right? So we're going to look at what it takes. Maybe I'm going to give you a few steps to how to see what's in the way. Because if you say, yeah, Wendy, that sounds easy, but in my world, it's impossible because I want everything, but it's based on what I don't have. And that's where most people are. So you're not alone. So we're going to make it as easy as I can in order for you to look at it from a different perspective. So I will line up my process for you, what I use for myself, in order to actualize these things instantaneously or seemingly instantaneously right now, right? We're just going to test it. And then maybe next week you'll come back and tell me what happens. But until then, we're going to move into a break. I don't know, we might be going in a minute early or 30 seconds early, but let's walk into a break right now. And I will see you in a minute.
If you could wave a magic wand and have your life be anything you wanted it to be, what would it look like? Professional dancer, CEO of a multi-million-dollar earth-conscious company, a screenwriter with top billing shows, and ultimately have the boldness to move about the world without emotional blocks standing in your way. therefore having the confidence to achieve anything you put your mind to. That's what Wendy Paquette knows is possible for you. The first step is understanding why you don't believe it too, or why you do, and yet haven't created it. Put on your possibility goggles and join Wendy now, because you're at the crossroads to awakening.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is Crossroads to Awakening radio show with your host, Wendy Paquette. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. Now back to the program.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. So here's what we're going to do. I was going through my mind, how can I walk you through this based on a desire, when desire usually has a longing or a bit of a back end on it. So we're going to lean into the coin thing, because we're going to take $1 and we're going to turn it into something. And I don't even care what it is. You just get to practice the steps to what's possible, right? Because everything is possible. And I know, it sounds so cliche, but if you believe it's not possible, that's the program that you get to get rid of. That's what a holographic mind reprogrammer does. Okay, I'm just going to let you know now. Whatever the programs are, when I mean programs, what I'm talking about is the things that you repeatedly have in your mind that cause you to see things from the perspective that you can't have it, or it's not yours, or it's negative, or it's in the way, or it's blocking you from getting something. Those are all programs, and programs reside in the brain, not the mind. The mind is a bigger aspect of you. It's in the brain. We are embodied as humans. So physically we have cells. This is a holographic reality, which means to me that every cell carries the information of infinity in it. All lives, all possibilities, everything. And each cell in your body, and how many do we have? 3 trillion cells? I mean, I'm not a scientist, so I couldn't actually speak to the exact number, but say it's 3 trillion cells, they all have the exact same coding. Difference being each body part has its own signature. Your brain has and its own function for that matter. Your brain has its own as well. And if we logicalize thought, your brain carries the programs in how you live. And how your brain holds those programs is whatever you've consciously decided, and sometimes unconsciously, but we'll speak to the conscious aspect of this. There's a lot of things that you've consciously decided are true based on how you were raised, your influences as you were being raised, like your parents, your family, your friends, your teachers, your neighbors, your soccer coach, whatever. You've had influences your whole life. And as you grew older, you got jobs, and whatever you've done in your life, you've had influences and you've bought them. When I say bought them, you've decided they were true, and therefore that program was written. So when we say, okay, let's use something ridiculous, like the sky is blue, the color blue. Nobody really knows if everyone sees the true color of what blue is, but to us, the sky is blue. Therefore, every day when there's no clouds, the sky is blue. That's what we see. If somehow that were a program, and we changed it to say, well, what you're actually seeing is purple, you've believed wrong your whole life, then once we changed it, you would see the sky as being purple. Now, that's a ridiculous rendition of what it looks like, but imagine any program where you've decided that something is true and it's actually not serving you. It's not serving you. So let me see. Let me think of something that's really good. I don't know what program. Like, every time I start something, I never finish it, right? It's maybe somebody said that to you. Every time you start something, you never finish it. And you go, yeah, you're right. I don't. You're right. I notice I don't. I start something and I don't finish it. Bingo, you bought it. That's a program. Now, every time you start something, you prove that program true. So you start something and you don't finish it, right? Imagine that across a board with everything you do in your life, even those things that you are committed to doing. Maybe it's in your business. Maybe it's in your family or your relationships or your health or exercise, for goodness sakes. You decide, I'm going to do whatever. What's the latest one that looks really fun? The butt workout. I think I saw it on Instagram. I'm going to do that because I want a great butt, right? So I'm like, I'm going to do it. And I buy it. I buy the program. And then I open it up and I read all the goods and I do the first day and I do the second day and I do the third day and I'm doing great. And you know what? The fourth day, something comes up and I'm busy and a friend calls and I'm going to go for coffee. And then I just don't go back to it. And you look at that workout and you go, you know what? Based on the program, it's true. Everything I start, I don't finish. And there are so many things that program can run your entire life. The way you eat, the way you sleep, how many hours you sleep, whether maybe you have some illnesses or allergies that doctors can't figure out what it is, but maybe it's a program. Maybe you've decided that because your dad's allergic to ragweed, now you are. Therefore, every time you see ragweed or you hear it's ragweed season, you suddenly have allergies. But when you go to the allergist, you are not allergic. No one can really figure it out. And so you say you are because you have an allergic response. What if that is a program? Right? What if you're actually just living a program? You would never know it. You would just live through the program and say, well, nobody knows how to figure it out for me. So, I'm an anomaly, right? How many people do you know that have been to the doctor that the doctor can't figure out what the problem is? How many? So many. Like, I know a lot of friends who have been through that. And what I know for sure is that program lives as long as it's running until someone identifies it and then you shift it, right? So let's get into that. How do you shift it? So this is why I speak from going from 3D to 5D. 5D is multidimensional experience in what I would say has no emotions, but people get really triggered when I say that. It's not a space of no emotion and you become a drone and a droid. What it is a space of it's bliss, so blissful that it has no name, right? It has no word. It's so blissful. Everything works out. You can see the world from a different perspective. If it doesn't work out, you don't get upset or angry. It just doesn't work out. So it's either it works and you win or you learn, one or the other. That's the type of program that's still there, although it's no longer a bad program or a program that doesn't work for you. Now it's embedded into your brain that you're living a multidimensional experience of access to otherworldly opportunities, and you're living prefer it because the experience is so amazing that by putting a word on it, it would totally limit the word itself, that experience itself. So let's look at using that coin to manifest. Okay, just a coin, a simple dollar. We're going to actually make it so that you discover a dollar coin somewhere, because I know there's dollar coins in the United States, and I know there's the loonie in Canada. You're just going to magically find one because you've decided, you know what, I'm going to find a dollar coin, and that's where we're going to start. And this is going to go on. We're going to use this through a couple episodes because you're going to walk yourself through it. Every episode for the next few episodes, we're going to get there and you're going to embody this, because the first step is, what do I want and why do I want it? Well, right now we're going to decide that we want a dollar coin. That's what we want. We don't care where it comes from. We don't care how we create it or generate it or how it shows up. We just would like a dollar coin. That's it. And our intention is set because that dollar coin could represent $1 million. right? That's the feeling underneath of it. Because if I can generate $1 to show up magically for me anywhere, if I could find it anywhere, then I can generate more. So that's the excitement underneath of that piece of it. And we're going to start small with $1 coin, and we're just going to allow that sucker to show up however it gets to show up here. Because every program is going to arrive for you in this week that you get to look at and go, oh my gosh, I haven't seen the dollar. And what's coming up for you is going to show you the program that's in the way. And then next week, what we're going to do is we're actually going to go and we're going to identify that program. So for, let's say the next 3 weeks, we're going to intend and ask for $1 coin to show up for us, just because, right? For no real reason. It's just $1. It's just $1. It's $1 coin, not a dollar bill, but $1 coin on purpose. And then in the next episode next week, we're going to identify all the shit that comes up for you when you don't see it, or when you think about it and you're thinking, this is stupid. The thing's never, like, you know, I could dig through my purse and find one. Yeah, you can. I'll tell you right now, I could go through my purse and not find one, because there's not a lot of coins left in there. I think I cleaned it out, and I don't know if I spent them or threw it in the, you know, the coin jar. But finding $1 coin is the task, right? And we're gonna make it as simple as humanly possible. And underneath that is, if you can be an allowance of $1 coin to show up for you magically because you intended it, what else can you do? What else can you source? How can you step into that space where you're knowing that what you want gets to be free of any other programs that you might have in your brain? And if you have programs that show up, we're going to identify them, because those programs can be shifted. And I'll do my best to support you in identifying them and shifting them yourself so that you can have the things that you want. This world is full of beautiful magic. We're in the middle of a pandemic where people are finally getting rest, because they've been, you know, how many months have we been in it? And they're, you know, stuck at home. Some people have gained a few pounds. I was one of those people from being sedentary, but I also got to identify that I'm not actually moving. I was loving my life. I'm still loving my life, but I wasn't actually getting out there and getting oxygen and moving my body. So I set a different intention with a different target, which ironically shifted my body weight and my body size, because of how powerful that intention is. And when something comes up around me not having it, I instantaneously step to identify it, right? I identify what's coming up, what's blocking me, why can't I have it? Why am I not choosing it? Why am I not doing it? Why are others doing it? And so we'll save that for next episode, but this one we're going to talk deeply into what you really want. So I know that the world runs on money. That's how we see it. That is the overlying huge, huge program. The world runs on money. You can't get something really, truly that you want without buying it. That's a program. And because if you notice, other people are getting things, either they're being given to them, or they're like sourcing them somehow where they've done a service and they received them. There's something else, but money isn't always involved, right? So there is a paradigm shift occurring right now, especially when you look at how these businesses are functioning during a pandemic, right? Some are disappearing and some are thriving. And there's a reason for that. There's a huge program that we get to walk through. So as I see we're walking into a break, which, you know, this topic is so fun because it's exciting, and it's possible for you to actually grab hold of it and move forward. It just takes some effort on your side, right? It just takes a little bit of effort. So as we walk into this break, think about the coin, right? Decide that that's what you want. You just want a $1 coin to show up for you this week. You have 7 days until next Monday. That's what you want. And right now we're going to walk into a break, and I just want you to sit with it. Wherever you're at in the world, whenever you're listening to this, decide that a $1 coin is what you'd like to show up, because let me tell you, if it shows up in the next 5 minutes, we have something to talk about, because you are on your way to something really fun. So let's go into our break right now, and we'll be back in a few minutes. You're listening to me, Wendy Paquette, on the Crossroads to Awakening show on the Inspired Choices Network. I cannot wait to share more with you. See you in a minute.
If you could wave a magic wand and have your life be anything you wanted it to be, what would it look like? Professional dancer, CEO of a multi-million-dollar earth-conscious company, a screenwriter with top billing shows, and ultimately have the boldness to move about the world without emotional blocks standing in your way, therefore having the confidence to achieve anything you put your mind to. That's what Wendy Paquette knows is possible for you. The first step is understanding why you don't believe it too, or why you do, and yet haven't created it. Put on your possibility goggles and join Wendy now, because you're at the Crossroads to Awakening. This is Crossroads to Awakening radio show with your host, Wendy Paquette. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. Now back to the program.
Okay, welcome back. So, did you decide that you wanted the coin? Are you going to test this out for yourself? Because let me tell you, that coin could be anything. Once you realize that you can actually generate, actualize, manifest something small, you can actually do it for something big, really big. But it starts with your confidence. And confidence, I always say, comes from competence, meaning you've done it. So we're picking something really small so that you could see how easy it is. And listen, if you source your coin to show up today, then say you want to see next time you want to see $2 coins show up for you in the same moment, in the same time, right? I've walked into our washroom and found a quarter sitting on the counter in the middle of like nothing for no reason. I mean, weird stuff can happen. That's what this 5D reality is for. It's a multidimensional experience of the unseen becomes seen because you said so. Super simple, but not simple for those of you who have these programs that won't allow you to receive, right? So that's the biggest one. I'm going to speak about a couple of the blocks that I find really get into people's way. The programs that stop most people from having or creating or generating, manifesting, actualizing what they really want. There's a few of them. So let's get into a couple of them. The first one would be belief. They have zero belief that it's possible. That's a huge one. That stems back from not believing many things are possible because you had an experience where you believed something so fully and it never happened. And someone pointed out, you see, told you that it doesn't work, told you that it's not possible. And then you buy it, right? So it's just as easy as that. And you think I'm kidding? I'm not. It's a conscious thought that becomes a subconscious program. Now, even though you might have bought that program, it doesn't mean all things will look like that program all the time, because you will have things that will work out for you. Things that have a stronger belief system than potentially having something that you want. There's an element of receiving, right? You're going to be living your reality, living into your journey. But when you've bought a program that doesn't allow you to receive, which is anything that you receive as a concept or an idea or a possibility, something that's fun that you've never heard of before, it kind of sits on top of your born into belief system. So there's a multi-layer experience in here, but you can bust through all that. I know I have done it myself. I've worked with clients. We've busted through all those things and magical things are occurring. So know that it's possible because I've done it. So I've done it myself and I've done it with clients. It is possible 100%. That is an absolute fact. So when you want to look at it now, know that that's possible, and also know that those programs are real. So if you'll find yourself again, I don't really believe that. That's I put air quotes around that. Well, I don't really believe that's possible. That's a program. The second those words pop out of your mouth, you know you bought it because you're saying it. Otherwise, you'd be saying, that doesn't look like it should be possible, but I know anything is possible. Anything is really possible. You'll say that. So the first thing to look at is, what are the words that are coming out of your mouth? Hear yourself speaking, right? It's not about someone else speaking. Listen to you. What are you seeing? When's the last time you actually heard the words coming out of your mouth? You didn't just speak to speak. You're speaking to hear it, right? Listen to yourself. So not believing it is one thing. The next thing is trust. You don't trust yourself. Trust is a huge program. It's so huge that it's a multifaceted in that if you don't trust other people, you also don't trust you, because holographically, you are other people, right? So it goes together. They're not two separate things. You can't trust you and then not trust others. It doesn't work that way. What it means is you do not trust others and you do not trust you. So that means every time you want something and you feel like you need to go out on a limb, you do not trust you to get it. That's just end of story. Or if you want something and you need to go out on a limb and it requires someone else's support or contribution, and you don't trust them to actually be that in order for you to get it, so it would be their fault, guess what? You're not trusting them is, again, you're not trusting you. And you won't get it because that program must prove you right. It must prove the program right. So your life's experience must prove the program right, or must prove your thoughts right. That's the second one. Trust is a huge one. I work on that maybe a couple of times because there's different aspects to trust, different programs that are attached to trust, because most people think it's one-sided and it's not. And so it comes like, multi-chunked for some people because they have so much belief in the fact that they don't trust others and they think that they trust themselves. And so those are almost like two separate weird ass programs that I work with. So that's the second one. The third one would be, you don't really want it. So you're going to say something that someone else wants to hear, because that's a people pleasing program. Well, if I tell them what I want and I know it's not what they want, they're not going to like me. They're not going to work with me anymore. They're not going to buy my product. They're not going to whatever, fill in the blank. That's a huge one. How often do you shit on yourself because you want something and you're going to people please your way through it because you think by making someone else feel good and not speak your truth that you're going to get what you want? Never going to happen. Never going to happen. Never, never, never. It's only going to cause you grief, because the grief is you're not speaking your truth anyway. You're barking out a program because you're trying to please someone else thinking that it's going to get you what you want. Not happening, right? And kids do that all the time, right? They try to tell their parents what they want and then they turn around and do the opposite and then they get in trouble. Does that work for them? No, it's the same for adults. So those programs are bought really young. And you look around your life. There are so many instances where you're going to go, oh my God, I totally did that. And how you know is because when you people please program, you feel like crap. You're the one who feels like crap. So I have a perfect example from myself, on my own life. I've lived all of these programs. I've done them all. I've also cleared them all. So it's so easy to talk about. Some of them are hysterical. And the latest one that I cleared was a people pleaser that was really slippery, because I don't find myself having to clear much. It's been 7 years. I clear a lot of things. I've cleared a lot over the 7 years, especially daily for the first few. And this people pleaser program was so slippery that I couldn't see it really. I just couldn't nail it. It was there. How did I know it was there? Your programs that aren't set up to support you will cause an emotional response. Okay, an emotional response that's under neutral. So it's neutral or negative, like anything underneath that. So I was noticing that I had hired someone whom wasn't showing up the way I was hoping they would show up. For some reason I had it in my head that I just, the first person I needed that I hired would do what I needed them to do and it would all work out hunky-dory and everybody would be happy. And so I hired them. I asked them what they wanted to do. They told me their capacities. I'm like, yeah, that's great. But I realized that they didn't quite speak the language that I was speaking. Like when I would say something, if I would say, well, you know what, I really love the color purple. They would say, well, blue doesn't really work there. So they were already on opposite streets. And now that I look back, I deliberately ignored that, hoping it would go away. So whenever I said purple, they said blue. Totally does not work for me. I don't know whether I thought it would self-correct. I know that's what programs do. They really screw you up in weird ways. So I kept paying the person, and I kept feeling like regret, anger, anxiety, irritation, all those negative emotions every time I paid them, because first of all, they couldn't speak my language. I would say purple, they would say blue every time, and I couldn't get them to see purple. That was like, if I didn't have the biggest #1 kick in the face for a program, that was it. I should have gotten it at time, but I won't should all over myself. So moving forward, I realized that it took a friend to point out to me, do you realize that you often hire people that don't have the capacity to do what you require them to do, and you give them the space to learn it because you think that that's okay, and you pay them to do so, and they don't quite get there. So you see their possibility, you pay them for their possibility, and they never get there, and then you screw yourself over because now you've paid them and you're not getting what you need. So it took a few times of me doing that, and then getting to a space where I had to then like release them because it wasn't working. But the last one was like the icing on the cake of all programs, because that exact thing was happening. I was asking for purple and I was getting blue, and I was really irritated, and I kept paying for it. Physically, like, I'm not only am I emotionally paying for it, I was paying for it in money and not getting what I required. One day, excuse me, I realized that it was the day that I got to release this person. And when I took myself into this space of what am I creating? How is that, showing up for me? And it was this people pleaser. I was willing to people please someone that I was paying so that I could get what I wanted. I was willing to pay for something that I wanted, irregardless of their capacity to deliver. Super slippery, because I'd done it before and just chalked it up to, not everybody has what it takes, but I was also paying them. So imagine that. In the moment that I realized that this is a program that got to shift, I had created such an emotional response to the whole thing that I created hives. Like all of my neck, I created hives. Everyone was so itchy, it was like scratching my neck. It was like hives were everywhere. And I was so irritated, and I was angry, and I was sad, and I was all the things, everything under neutral, like every emotion under the sun under neutral, at an experience that was my creation. It was my creation. So when I was identifying this program, I realized that I had this slippery little program that instead of telling someone that didn't speak my language, guess what? I'm noticing that we're not speaking the same language, and I suspect that I'm not going to get what I'm looking for, and it's just not working. I realized that I was doing it everywhere in my life. Right? I was doing it with my husband. Maybe there was something I wanted him to do. I don't know. I can't think of anything in particular, but I know it was everywhere because programs are. It's a program that's running from my brain. So let me tell you, it was that day, and it wasn't that long ago, that when I realized it was a program, and I had a lot of things to do that day, and I got to show up for my community in a way that, like, in a powerful way, which I normally would, but I had created this crazy program that was ready to be released because of all the hives and everything else. Like, couldn't have gotten more obvious. I was in this room in my office. I folded my hands in prayer. I closed my eyes, and I suddenly saw the God of Ra. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I didn't really know who he was. I just, saw this like huge being, and it was a God of some form. And he told me who he was. He's like, I'm the God of Ra. And I was like, yeah, okay. Like, I was irritated. But what I had asked for subconsciously was, I get to support myself in this moment because I got to step into a community and be on fire and be lit up like I normally am. But I was irritated and I'm scratchy from the hives. It was crazy. And I had recognized this people pleaser, and I didn't have time to shift it. But when I went into this prayer mode, I went into this opportunity to open myself to possibilities. And I saw the God of Ra. His explanation to me was so clear and so succinct that it zapped the program out of me in an instant. Because that's what I would normally do for myself, but it had to be quick, and I got to be open to possibilities, which I had opened that up for myself before. So not knowing who the God of Ra is, he said, like, I am the God of Ra. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Like, I was really nonchalant about it because I was irritated. He said, I am the God of the sun. And then he waved his hand over like everything, basically in my world. And he said, none of this matters. None of it. And I was like, okay, like half getting it, half not. And he showed me a vision of that he's the God of the sun. He showed me the sun and how it gives life to everything and everyone. He snapped his fingers like, he said, I could make this disappear and none of this matters because you would instantaneously disintegrate. And really none of this matters. And as he did that, I could feel this like wave rush through my body. I could feel every cell shift. It's like he snapped that program out of me in an instant. And I was like, oh, so true. Like, what was I thinking? Right? It was just so real and true and obvious. And I was out of it. Like, that occurred. He showed me that. And I was like, right, I get it. I came out of, like, I was just standing in the middle of the room and like with my hands folded to my chest in prayer form. And I turned around, I sat down on my computer, opened up my Zoom room and carried on with my moment. And I got to share that experience with everyone that was in my community because it was so profound. Like, it snapped me in an instant. Now that is an experience that is multidimensional. That is a 5D multi-dimensional experience where you can take yourself from this arena, this human arena, invite in otherworldly, conscious awareness, whatever you want to call it, multi-dimensional opportunities, and utilize them instantaneously. That may have been, like, my thinking it was, 2-3 minutes, might have been a nanosecond, because there is no such thing as time, right? That's a construct, and that is also a program, right? Not having enough time. So there's so many other programs in there. But what that did for me with my little, as I laugh, little people pleaser program was it showed me that my brain knows nothing. It knows nothing except for what I've taught it up until today, which was, up until that moment, a program saying you can pay people to not do what you need them to do and be okay with it, and then be irritated because that's not your truth. It's not alignment, right? It was, you're trying to people please someone and pay for it. It didn't make any sense. Programs don't make sense. So I'll tell you the rest of the story when we come back, because we're going to go into break right now, and I'll share you the like highlight of that experience and how I learned about who the God of Ra is afterwards. But we'll go to break first, and when we come back, I want you to think about that dollar coin now. Because if I can source the God of Ra to show up and snap that program out of my field of energy forever, you can create a dollar coin to show up, and that dollar coin could represent $1 million. So on the Inspired Choices Network, you don't know what's going on. And here at Crossroads to Awakening, that's what we're doing. We're awakening to new multi-dimensional experiences in the here and now. So I will see you right after this break. Thanks for being here.
If you could wave a magic wand and have your life be anything you wanted it to be, what would it look like? Professional dancer, CEO of a multi-million-dollar earth-conscious company, a screenwriter with top billing shows, and ultimately have the boldness to move about the world without emotional blocks standing in your way, therefore having the confidence to achieve anything you put your mind to. That's what Wendy Paquette knows is possible for you. The first step is understanding why you don't believe it too, or why you do, and yet haven't created it. Put on your possibility goggles and join Wendy now. because you're at the crossroads to awakening. This is Crossroads to Awakening radio show with your host, Wendy Paquette. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. Now back to the program.
Okay, so let me fill you in on my little God of Ra story. So it's so incredible, and I love sharing the story because I probably a decade ago would have been terrified for people to think I'm crazy, but I don't care because these experiences are so profound and so fun, and they really do change your life. And it changed mine in an instant. As the second that he snapped his fingers, my life was like, oh yeah, I get it. The funny part is how I have had all of my really cool enlightened experiences have been a pattern of, I don't know who I'm talking with, and I don't know what that looks like, and I get to learn it after. So the God of Ra, what I did was I Googled him. And when I Googled him, that's how I learned all the things that he was. God, the God of Ra, the God of the sun, is the God of all gods. And he's extremely powerful. And he looks like that. When I see him in my mind's eye, he's like a gorgeous, gorgeous God. He is, and he has a God of few words, only succinct landing points. And he changed my instant in like a nanosecond. And that program got to be shifted for me. And I'll tell you, from that second forward, my whole reality changed with how I showed up. People in my life, they shifted as well, because this holographic reality means that everything that's coded into every cell of mine is coded into every cell of yours. And you are me and I am you. So that dollar coin, when it shows up for you, represents $1 million coin, $1 million possibility, $1 million opportunity. So next week on the next show, I'm going to walk you through how to identify the things that got in the way. And the only way that you're going to be able to identify the programs that show up for you without me following you around to tell you what they are is to listen to what you're saying. Like, literally look for the coin, look for it. Imagine that it's going to show up for you, and then be shocked and surprised and celebrate that it does, because it will. And if it doesn't, if you find yourself getting frustrated because you've taken on the task, and you get to take on the task if you so choose, that is your task. Those things you get to bring forward, and we'll identify the things that actually get in the way a little further. And then we'll talk about how you can shift them, because shifting them will be the cool thing. And then the following episode, the third episode in this little segment, will be how to transmute it. And transmute it to source energy showing up as you, so you have more of you in this world, which means more of you everywhere you look. Because in the holographic reality, you are everything you look at. Your programs and you, the beauty of you, are everywhere you look. There's nothing that you see in this reality that isn't you. That's the beautiful aspect. And if you're seeing something you don't like, it's a program, and that gets to be shifted and changed, because the programs don't get to live there unless you decide they will. And sometimes we don't even know that until you hear these episodes on the Crossroads to Awakening, and then you discover that. So share it with your friends, right? Show them what's possible, especially if they're stuck. Because if all they did was listen or watch, then you would change their life, because they'd suddenly open up to my frequency, which is the world of possibility, and their awakening, and choose something different, not because they had to fight through it, but because they could, and you were their guiding light. So be that light. I have enjoyed this episode so much for you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you and showing up in the Crossroads to Awakening as your awakened self, and that you're going to be even greater than you were today, than you were yesterday. So we'll see you next week, and we're going to talk more about this $1 million coin that starts from 1. Thank you so much for being here. It's so much fun. Woo!
Thank you for choosing to listen to the Crossroads to Awakening radio show. Wendy Paquette will return next Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Mountain, and 11 p.m. Pacific. on inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. We look forward to you joining us again. Until then, enjoy your journey and we'll meet you at the crossroads.